Okay, everybody, I'm going to do a quick tutorial here on all of the functions in the cockpit. First, I'm going to hit the dials down here of the 6. This is our fuel level. This is our radar altitude. That's how high above the ground you are literally, so any object that's below you will register there. This is our altitude above sea level, so that's a little bit different than radar altitude. And then there's vertical speed. That's how fast you are going up or down. And then there's your normal speed, which is in meters per second. And then there's your heading, which tells you which direction, according to the compass, you're going. Above that here is the flight director, and this does a number of functions. What you can see sort of swirling around here are actually vectors that are going to guide us when we're flying. So we'll get into a little bit of that later on when we're demonstrating some of the orbital mechanics. Brakes. Okay, so flight director, your fuel gauge, radar altitude, regular sea level altitude, vertical speed gauge, speed or velocity in meters per second. Here's your heading gauge. Over here to your right, sort of the condition of your ship. It shows your hull percentage. On the outside, these 3 rings are shield. The inner ring here is armor. And then the sort of bluish ring in the middle is hull. Sort of an overlay of your ship over here. On this side is a similar setup, and this will show your target's health condition. So I'm going to scroll through targets here by pressing the A button on my controller. And as you can see, I'm sort of switching through various targets that are out there on the map. And there's my home base. And what I could do is if I press this thumbstick here down, it's going to lock one of those targets in. And then you can see that I can see its health. I can see what kind of target it is and how far away it is from me. And it has a similar condition. It's got a shield, a armor value, and a hull value. And basically you can toggle through your various targets, and if you press down this thumbstick button, it'll actually select the target that you have. If you press the A button again, it'll begin to scroll through new targets, and then when you hit select, you're going to get that icon up there that shows you that that's your focused target. So if I go down here and I press select on this one, it's going to show me, okay, I'm looking at a defense tower. It's almost 13 kilometers away, and it's got various health and all that. So that is your target health indicator. This is your ship health indicator. These are your flight instruments, and down here is your sort of your space orbital instrument. And right now what we're seeing is AG at 0 kilometers. That's apogee. It stands for basically the highest point in your orbit. And then you can't see it really, but there's PG down there, which is perigee, which is the lowest point in your orbit. And right now it's showing the perigee is actually at the center of this planet, and the apogee is exactly 0 feet off the planet's surface. That's because the highest point is where we're resting right now. And so as we take off and we begin to get above the planet's surface and we begin to get up to orbital speeds and indeed outside of the planet's atmosphere, we'll be able to see our orbit here. We'll be able to see the apogee, the perigee, and its ascending and descending nodes, which will get us then later into some of these button commands here. But so that's almost going to finish it. So let's just go into the buttons up here really quick. And all of these are voice commands, so I'm going to sort of do those really quickly for you. Right up here on the top left, we have brakes. And I'm just going to try and say that and get it to activate brakes. And over here, we have cockpit lights. And as those turn on and off, you'll get a little bit of light. I can also just hit that with my finger. Boop, and they go on and off. Cockpit lights. Cockpit lights. Okay, brakes. Brakes. There we go. Sometimes the voice commands take a little bit to register. Okay, and the next big deal up here on the buttons is the VTOL button, which is a vertical takeoff button. Now, I'm going to demonstrate this really quickly. But what it does is it basically changes your thrust from a rear-facing engine to a vertical thrust. And that allows you to take off like a Harrier jet or kind of like a helicopter. But it's very unstable. So there's also some buttons in here that have to do with stability. There is your basic stability button, which is toggling on and off as I say it, stability. And there is a VTOL specific button called hover. And what that's going to do is it's going to try and level you out, which means it's going to keep these crosshairs in your nav ball circularized. It's not going to work as well in low atmosphere as it does in high atmosphere. which is basically because it has more control authority in a higher, less dense environment. But it will basically level you off. Now, if I hit stability here, you're going to see hover go off, and that's because I can only have any one of these 8 selected at once. So as you see, if I start toggling these other commands, it's only going to allow me to select one at once. It's because they're all types of stability. So what we'll do is we'll just start off with normal stability. That's going to keep me pointed in the direction that I want to go. Actually, since we've already done a flight tutorial, what we'll do is we'll start with VTOL on, and we'll start with hover on, and I'm just going to take off and hover above the ground here. So here we go. I'm going to use my left grip trigger to throttle up. I'm going to sort of go on and off of that, and just sort of maintain a certain level. Now, because I have hover on, it should keep me relatively stable. If I throw the stick off here, I threw it off quite a ways, but what we'll see is that hover is going to bring us back to sort of a stable balance. And that has basically leveled me off. So that's what hover does. I'm going to turn it off right now and just use regular stability. So it did that for me with the voice command. So now if I angled forward and hit the gas, it's going to keep me at this angle because it wants to keep me at the direction that I'm facing. If I turned it off, yeah, I'm not moving out too much, but you can see actually it gets really unstable, just sort of working in a vertical flight environment only. There we go. So I flipped over. I'm going to right myself and steady out. Doesn't mean you can't fly without stability on, but it's sort of nice to have it. So somehow hover toggled there. Okay, so I'm going to go back to regular flight mode. I'm just going to say VTOL. And I'll take that off. So now all of my stability buttons are off. All my functions are off. We're just sort of flying as normal. See, my heading indicator is changing. My speed indicator is relative to our velocity. You can see I'm headed up a little bit. If I push my nose down, my vertical speed is going to change. You can see my altitude dropping here. You can see my being shot at by the tower. Let's just get out of there real quick. So I can actually feel that in my haptic sticks right now. Getting a little feedback. Okay. So aside from actually targeting and shooting enemies and going after them, that's the basic flight mechanics for in-atmosphere flight. That's how you mess with your buttons. You use voice commands or you use your hands. Any which way you can toggle these at your will.